everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Kroy Biermann begs judge to force sale home. All Kim's fault. RAOA alum Kroy Biermann is begging the judge to force the sale of his Georgia mansion, but is it all Kim Zolciak's fault? The estranged duo have dodged foreclosure for over 2 years, but it is fast approaching. They were given a timeline to sell their home, and it has not happened. It is now believed to be Kim's fault, so should the home sale be forced. Keep reading for all of the details. In the summer of 2022, it looked like Kim Zolciak and Kroy Biermann's lavish Georgia mansion was headed to foreclosure. Luckily, by some miracle, they were able to keep their home and act like everything was fine. By the beginning of 2023, it was happening again, and talks of an auction were starting. This caused a lot of concern, especially since the couple owed over $1 million to the IRS. They denied anything was going to happen to their home, and in the blink of an eye, filed for divorce. They soon reconciled but ended it once again. Accusations were thrown at each other, unpaid debts came out, cars were repossessed, and Kim attempted to make money by selling lavish items from the family's closet. The home was still an issue, and they did make a deal with Truist Bank. They had to sell the home, or it would be foreclosed upon. Months have gone by, and they have slashed the price a few times, but no takers. Now Kroy Biermann is blaming Kim Zolciak, saying that the home should have been priced much lower if they really wanted to sell it. According to TMZ, he believes $3.5 million is fine, but Kim won't go any lower than $3.85. In her mind, $3.05 would not allow her to buy a home, but that is not working for Kroy. He wants the court to allow him to sell the home at whatever price he thinks is appropriate. More so, he does not want Kim involved whatsoever. For him, it is a matter of credit and how he will be negatively impacted by a foreclosure set for October with his name on the mortgage. Allegedly, Kim Zolciak is stating that she won't have any money for a new home if they do not keep the house at its current listing price. However, Kroy Biermann is calling her out on that and is saying it is just plain false. He shares that the mother of 6 is indulging in $400 bottles of wine by the case, as well as shopping sprees, cosmetic procedures, gambling, and partying. It has been noted in the past that Kim has a gambling problem and was even brought up for why they are in such deep debt. The RHOA alum was recently seen on MTV's Surreal Life, Villa of Secrets. There she kept saying she was making money for the family. Do you agree with what Kroy is trying to do? Even with all of the money they owe, is he still trying to save them in the long run? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Kroy Biermann had always been the kind of man who prided himself on keeping things under control. On the field, he was a force to be reckoned with, a skilled athlete who understood the game and how to execute the perfect play. But as he stood before the towering doors of the courthouse, a storm of frustration churned inside him, one that not even his years of training could prepare him for. His marriage to Kim Zolciak, the former star of Real Housewives of Atlanta, had been a whirlwind from the start. Lavish parties, extravagant gifts, and the constant glare of reality TV cameras had made their life look like a dream on the outside. But over the years, the facade of perfection had started to crack. Kim's insatiable appetite for luxury and her obsession with the spotlight had driven them into a financial corner, a corner Kroy could no longer escape on his own. "Sir, you're up next," a court officer said, motioning toward the door of the judge's chambers. Kroy straightened his suit jacket, took a deep breath, and walked in. Inside, Judge Helen Matthews, a stern-faced woman with sharp eyes and an air of authority, sat behind a massive wooden desk. Kroy knew this was it, the moment that would determine the fate of his family's future, and more importantly, The house that had once symbolized their dreams, but now stood as a reminder of everything that had gone wrong. "Mr. Biermann," Judge Matthews began, flipping through the file in front of her, "I've reviewed the documents you've submitted regarding your current financial situation. From what I gather, you're requesting the court to intervene and force the sale of your marital home. Is that correct?" Kroy nodded, his throat tight. "Yes, Your Honor, I am." "And you believe that this situation is primarily due to your wife's actions?" the judge asked, raising an eyebrow. Kroy hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "I wouldn't say it's entirely her fault, but yes, Your Honor. Kim's spending has gotten out of control. We're in a situation where selling the house is the only way to avoid total financial ruin." Judge Matthews peered at him over her glasses. "Mr. Biermann, I understand that financial disputes are common in divorce proceedings, but what makes this case different? Why do you believe this situation requires the court's intervention?" Kroy clenched his fists under the table, thinking back to the endless arguments, the credit card bills that seemed to multiply every month, and Kim's refusal to acknowledge the severity of their financial crisis. The house, their mansion, had once been a dream home, but now it was a liability, with a mortgage they could no longer afford and maintenance costs that were bleeding them dry. "Your Honor," Kroy began, his voice steady but firm, "I've tried everything. I've cut back on my own expenses, stopped spending on anything unnecessary, but it's never enough. Kim doesn't see the reality of our situation. She's still living like we're on a TV show, like the money will never run out. But it has. We've burned through our savings, maxed out credit cards, and defaulted on payments. Selling the house is the only way to salvage what's left." The judge's expression softened slightly, but her tone remained professional. "And Mrs. Solchiak Biermann, has she been informed of your intentions?" Kroy sighed. "Yes, but she refuses to cooperate. She insists we'll find a way to keep the house, but there's no way. It's impossible. I'm begging the court to intervene because, at this point, I don't know what else to do." There was a pause as Judge Matthews considered his words. Kroy could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This wasn't just about the house, it was about everything. The dreams they had built together, the family they had created, and the reality that it was all falling apart. "Mr. Biermann," the judge finally said, "I can see that this is a difficult situation for you. However, it's important to remember that the court's primary concern is to ensure fairness and justice for both parties involved. While I understand your frustration, I need to hear Mrs. Solchiak Biermann's side of the story before making any decisions regarding the sale of the property." Kroy nodded, though he felt a sinking feeling in his chest. He had expected this. He knew that Kim's lawyers would paint a picture of her as a devoted mother and wife, someone who had sacrificed so much for their family. But he also knew that behind that image was the cold, hard truth. They were drowning in debt, and Kim was refusing to face it. The judge leaned forward slightly, her voice softening. "That being said, I will schedule a hearing to further discuss this matter. In the meantime, I would encourage both parties to consider mediation. It's clear that there are financial issues that need to be addressed, and it may be possible to reach a compromise without forcing the sale of the home." Kroy forced a smile, though inside, he felt exhausted. "Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that." As the judge adjourned the meeting, Kroy stood up and walked out of the courtroom, his mind racing. Mediation. A compromise? He knew Kim too well. She would never agree to sell the house voluntarily. It was her pride, her sanctuary, the symbol of the life she had worked so hard to cultivate in front of the cameras. But to Kroy, it had become a burden, an anchor pulling them deeper into financial despair. Outside the courthouse, Kroy's lawyer, Robert Evans, caught up to him. "How did it go?" he asked, his expression unreadable. Kroy shrugged. "As well as could be expected. The judge wants us to try mediation first." Evans nodded. "That's standard. But honestly, Kroy, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this could drag on for months, maybe even longer. Kim's not going to back down without a fight." Kroy sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, but what choice do I have? I can't keep living like this. The house, the debt, it's all suffocating me." Evans placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll figure it out. Just stay strong, and remember, you're doing this for your family's future." Kroy nodded, though the weight of the situation felt heavier than ever. As he walked away from the courthouse, the reality of what lay ahead settled in. The battle over their home was just beginning, and he knew it wouldn't be easy. But for the sake of his children, for the chance to rebuild his life, he was ready to fight. Even if it meant fighting the woman he once thought he'd spend forever with.